All right, today we are back looking at pedals again, and this will be a more in-depth look at overdrive pedals. I'm going to talk about a few different types of overdrives and then show you a couple examples of each, and then we'll play through them so you can hear what each one sounds like. Throughout this video, they'll all be played through the same amp at the same settings and the same guitar, so that the only variable we're working with is the pedal itself. Before we jump into the pedals themselves, we need to talk about the construction a little bit. So one term that you're going to hear is op amp. That stands for operating amplifier. And what that does is it increases your signal to the level that's required for the pedal to be able to manipulate it. So really that's just going to be making your signal louder. With that out of the way, we can now talk about soft clipping versus hard clipping pedals. In that first category of soft clipping pedals, we have things like the Tube Screamer and the JHS Morning Glory, which is a blues breaker style pedal. And then in the hard clipping camp, I have this Gust Drive from Summer School Electronics. This is based on a DoD Overdrive 250. And all those words really mean, soft clipping versus hard clipping, is where your signal is being clipped within the pedal circuit. With soft clipping, the clipping is occurring within that op amp. With hard clipping, it's being clipped after the op amp. You don't need to know what that means, but you'll be able to hear the difference once I play them. So the first category within soft clipping is what we call transparent overdrives. And that's just a buzzword that's going around these days when referring to overdrives that don't manipulate your sound as far as EQ goes. They just give you that overdriven, harder pushed guitar tone. And a very common transparent overdrive is the Marshall Blues Breaker. And those pedals are based on the Blues Breaker amps. Eric Clapton was playing those at the time, and he was known for that sound, so they were aiming to recreate that within a pedal. The JHS Morning Glory is based on a Blues Breaker, so it falls into that camp of a transparent overdrive. Other examples are the King of Tone from Analog Man, and also the Wampler Pantheon. And here's what a transparent overdrive sounds like. And that Blues Breaker sound kind of faded with time. They didn't sell very many Blues Breaker pedals, so Marshall stopped making them after just a couple of years. But then when John Mayer came around with his Continuum album, that kind of revitalized that sound. People knew that he was playing with those on his pedal board, so that became popular again. The second type of pedal within the soft clipping category is the Tube Screamer. And this is known for doing kind of the opposite of the Blues Breaker, where the Blues Breaker doesn't mess with your EQ or anything. The Tube Screamer intentionally raises the mid-range frequencies of your guitar. So it's a noticeable difference from the Tube Screamer to the Blues Breaker, but they're creating that overdriven sound the same way. There are many versions of Tube Screamers out there. This one is a TS9. The old school one is a TS808. There's also the TS10. JHS makes the Bonsai, which has many different variations of the Tube Screamer kind of built all into one pedal. And then another example is from Jam Pedals, the Tube Dreamer. And this pedal was really big back in like the 80s. Stevie Ray Vaughan is known for using Tube Screamers, as well as Kirk Hammett and The Edge from U2. So remember, this one's going to have that mid hump, so it is going to change the overall tone of your guitar. So let's listen to that. So now that we've talked about soft clipping, let's move on to the hard clipping pedals. So I showed you earlier this one, the gust drive is based on a DoD 250, and it would be similar to something like the Klon Centaur. And with the construction of this being different from those previous two, you'll be able to hear the different type of overdrive that it is, so let's take a listen. All right, our last category is transistor-based pedals, and I have here a blues driver from Boss. This is a really great transistor-based pedal. So it has no op amp in it like those other versions that I showed you have. Instead, this uses transistors, and they're kind of cascading into each other. So each transistor increases your signal, and then into the next one increases again, and it works in a similar fashion to a tube amp. The transistors just take the place of a tube. This style of pedal will deliver a different type of overdrive, but it's a really great sound, and it has a wide range between a mild overdrive and a pretty heavy sound bordering on distortion. Now that you know what they all are and you've heard them all individually, let's put them side by side so you can hear all their differences right next to each other. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments which style of overdrive you prefer, and don't forget to like and subscribe, share this video if you think somebody else might find it helpful, and don't forget we call it playing, so keep it fun.